Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's September the 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And in the end, we just had another large trading range day. Um, we spent most of the trading day in the upper half of it. We did break back down into the lower half late morning, but we couldn't even get back down to the lows again. So, and notice here, we talked about yesterday, we traded down into that trading range, and when we actually broke out, the breakout was successful to the downside. Today we traded up into this trading range, and the breakout was to the upside. So pretty standard. The shorter term trend lines pretty much were in play all day. Um, Fairly straightforward. What else? That's really about it. Um, I would talk about this was the first move up. So when we found traction here and started going higher, you look for that for a measured move, and you can see that's about what we got. I don't think we quite got there. Well, within the trading day, we missed it by maybe a point, but that's where we were headed. And we may get it before it's over. We may turn down. I don't know. Um, but that would be how I would look for that target there. Um, other than that, it's a pretty straightforward day. So I'm going to back out, talk about the trades. The volatility is still a little higher. The volume's still a little higher, but today is not. It's slowing down some from what we were seeing. So let me back out of here and we can talk about the trades. When I came in, we were working up. We got a break. It looked like we were going to try to go higher. This was really what I call a gift right here. Um, all this price action was here before I got here, and I came in just as this was setting up. And you can see what happened here. um, There's a new high here, and you get a pullback first entry, pullback second entry, but there was also um, you could treat it. Notice this is kind of a new low here. Then there's a first entry pullback, and this break lower right here was a second entry. So this is like a trap. They probably trapped a bunch of people to the short side. Um, this one is kind of caught between no man's land because we're looking for a retest on this channel, but now we got this one working down, and we're looking for a retest on it. Well, which one won out? Really, the trading range won out. I noticed the midline across there, and it ended up holding, but this setup just as I came in, so it's like a gift. You didn't have to worry about getting tricked or anything in here. All that was already in play, and this was the bar setting up right as I came in. And look how bullish it ends after it broke lower and then broke out the high side. You can just go long right there on the stop. And you know that's going to take off like that, but you figure we're going higher. We're going to the upper side of the channel. Just so happens we go all the way up and we break above that little double top and trap everybody. And notice this is the break and the new high for this one, but this is also the new high and retest for this bigger channel here. We didn't really necessarily get a retest on this one until we came back down, and then you got another channel working lower, and so you just kind of can forget that one. We overshot it, so that's good enough. You don't always get a retest when you get an overshoot. That's usually a good example of the periods when you may not get a new extreme. And we actually overshot this one here. Still got a new extreme, but we overshot this one and we didn't get a new extreme. So, but it did lead to the break like you usually expect, and this overshot led to the break like you usually expect. So just remember that. I didn't like going long right into that resistance right there. You don't want to do that. It would have worked, but again, you don't want to do that. Generally, it's going to break higher and fail, which it did, even though it got enough this time. Next time, it may not. So you just can't take that trade. This is our reversal pattern I'm talking about. Look how it comes down. It goes right through the EMA, comes back and tests it. Then it goes lower. You did get a little break here and a new low. And so now you figure prices will probably come back over here. You don't really know where this line is at that point, though. You can draw it off these two lows and pull it up, and so you're suspecting this, but you don't necessarily know This is the line, and in the end, I'm guessing this is probably right here instead of up here, and you do get a break and a new low here. I originally had it up here, and it does tend to fit there, so you could have seen it that way, but in the end, I believe it's off those closes, and it gives you these touches here, and this midline is more like right in there, and you can see that fits as well. So pretty straightforward. It didn't matter which way you really saw it, other than the fact you didn't necessarily get a break here and you got a reversal. But even if you saw it this way, notice you get a break and a move down. It attempted to make a new low and it didn't quite get it. So um, didn't matter how you saw it. Most people probably were looking at it this way early on and then did like me and they ended up adjusting it. And the reason I adjusted it is because look at these three swings off the low. Um, that's where I got that line. When you drag it up to the top, that's exactly where it turned down. So other people saw it that way, but if you saw it here, you still saw the breaks down right here, and but we didn't have the new high in place, and we get it right here. This one was really tempting to go short right here, um, especially if you saw it this way. But at that point, I really saw it as being up here. And we had a break here, but we didn't have a new high yet, and we didn't really have a trap yet at that point. So it didn't matter really how you saw it. It still generally worked out the same way. But notice this move down right through the pullback first entry. You got to close below this trend line, then a move to a new high, and then it turns down. And since I wasn't sure where it was, this is a second entry, a big bearish bar. Um, Somewhat a general reversal pattern, but look how it runs right through. Look how this low is way below this swing low. That's a good sign. And so that's a nice second entry short. Turns out to be a really big move down too. And you should have been thinking, hey, there's a possibility we're going to get a measured move here. You draw that and you bring it over. And we actually overshot that before it bounced a little bit, but that's what you would have been looking for. It didn't look like we were going to quite get it right here, but we did. And there's actually kind of a trading range. There's some matching highs right here that you got to pay attention to as well. This is really a trading range right here. And you can see that range. It's holding prices, and you get a little failed break here. That's another reason I like this one. I wasn't sure about this line here, and the main reason I didn't like this short is because it's right into that resistance. You don't have much room, and you see what happens. It bounces real quick, but it comes up here, and you get the little failed breakout, and it turns down. This is not a great signal bar, but it's notice this new high pullback, first entry pullback. It's a failed second entry short. It's a failed breakout. It's the first possible break of the trend channel. And if you had it up here, it's the first touch of the trend channel. So several different reasons to like that one to the short side. Quick, easy move. Where does it bounce? Right off the low again. And it's tempting to take that long right there. But if this is indeed the trend line and you're wrong on the first one, you know, you don't have a lot of room in there if this is indeed the right one. And if the first one's the right one, you haven't had a break of the channel yet. So there's different reasons to be thinking, I'm not going long yet. The bias is still down. And so you just wait and you get a trap here. Notice it went up, pull back, and you get that one little tick higher, and it turns down and goes out the other side. Just go short right there. Again, you've got just enough room, and you might have even used a limit order because it's real close to these lows, but you got enough room in there just barely to get out of there, and the bias is down, and you know, and your hope is it's going to go try to make a new low, or that it's going to move all the way down to the lower side, and it does just that. It ends up overshooting the other side, in fact. So I like that little setup there. And then this is a two-legged pullback and a breakout pullback short on the midline here. Notice what it does. It pulls back. It gives you, and even though it went a little lower, that's still a two-legged swing right there. Um, the fact that it broke lower and didn't go very high and turned down right off the EMA, closed below the previous. This was the previous support and resistance line. It's closing. It's acting as resistance again, and you're looking for prices to come to this side. So, and it did break lower. So it's like a little breakout pullback short. Um, it's a fairly bearish bar. It didn't quite close on its low, but it's close enough, and it drops right down to where you think. It actually goes a little further, and then you get a pullback first entry, pullback second entry, and it's a second entry short. The market's really looking weak here. We weren't back to the trend line. That's a reason to maybe skip that, but this is a fairly bearish bar. You got to wait on this bar, and I went back and forth about whether or not to make this one green. Uh, you might have wanted to use a limit order here, but it was okay if you use a stop because there's enough room to get out. And you know, I really figured we'd move on down to here. And at this point, I was leaning more towards this being the channel. So it works either way. You kind of get the same deal, except you don't have a break yet, and that makes this even more bearish looking. So that's some of my thinking there. And then we move up here. Notice this is a long, and the reason I like this long here is look at that little congestion area. It's just a little trading range, and if you draw your lines, it'll probably make it stick out a little bit more to those of you that aren't good at seeing this stuff. And you can see that little trading range. I call that congestion. It's just a couple of bars. So, and this is a failed break lower. So you're taking a long, but notice how it went right on through the EMA there, and it's trying to get below, and it can't. And then you get the congestion. The odds are we're probably going to come back to this side, and we might even break out to the upside because we traded up into that little range. And it's a little bar. It's a real low risk type entry. If you're wrong, you're not going to lose a lot of money. So if you're wanting to be aggressive, this is the place to do it in a downtrend. And then you get a breakout pullback long, but it's still below this midline. And I was afraid we'd turn and go back down, which we did, but it went high enough to get. There's just not a good enough setup right there, to be honest with you. If it pulled back and created another little trap and then went higher, I would have been more prone to like it, which it kind of did here as well. But it already moved too high. It was too far away from the EMA by that point. So you know you're going to probably snap back. And guess what? It comes down. It doesn't even get any hesitation really. It shoots right through, comes back and tests it. It's the first break of that little channel. So you figure we're probably going to make another measured leg down and probably get that retest we're looking for. But it doesn't quite get there. There's actually a failed second entry long there, but I really don't like going short there. You could technically give that a green one, but I'm not even going to give it a green one because this is your channel down and you got a break and you already got a new low. And so even though that looks like a trap, there's that little gap right there, and that could just be a pullback to fill that gap. And if that's the case, it may go lower, but a lot of times that will create a bigger pullback, and then you get trapped only to watch it go where you thought it was going to go later. So I think you're just better off to skip that one since you had your break and your new low. It bounces here, but I don't think you want to go long right in here. This is just another little congestion type area, but you draw that trend line right there. It never could break lower until here, so I liked going long there. And I really went back and forth about whether or not to make this one green or blue. But the fact that it went lower and then went out the other bar, and notice this is a new low, so it's a first entry pullback. It's a second entry. This is somewhat of a reversal pattern because it went right through the EMA. It's bouncing right off that trend line. There's a lot of reasons to like that long. You do have to be a little bit concerned about this midline here. But the fact that we tried 1, 2, 3, 4 times to go lower and couldn't, generally when a market, I talked about this yesterday, when a market can't go higher, it's probably going lower. And when a market can't go lower, it's probably going higher. And that's what we get here. And there's another point here. Um, notice this is about a 50% pullback. So this is a little bit more than a 50% pullback. So somewhere between 50 and 62% pullback is where generally you're going to see your reversals. And so that was another reason to think, although you don't want to trade on that alone, you just want to keep that in the back of your mind. So I like this one. And then we're working up, and it's tempting to go long here, but you don't have a lot of room. But this is a perfect setup because it gives you all the room to get out before you get back to the top. You don't really have a break yet. There's a double bottom here, and it went one tick. There's a little 2-bar matching low. This is really a double bottom. It went one tick lower, and it's a big reversal type bar. I like that one. You got enough room to get out. It goes a little further, but you're out of this one easy. And we never really, this is a second entry long, but it's not a very good one. It's right into a double top, so I don't like it, even though it worked. And now you got your break, a move to a new high, and now you got a one working down. You get a failed second entry long here and a reversal type bar. This is not a perfect signal bar, but this is a long trap. I guarantee you a lot of people went long there, and when it turns down, just go short. Quick, easy scalp, and then it bounces. There's no real chance to go long in here. There's a second entry long right here, but again, this is kind of congestive looking. It's not a great setup. Even though this bar has a bullish tint, it's inside bar on a negative bar. If you go long right there, you only got a couple of ticks into that double top. I think you got to skip this one, but when it turns up and fails and turns down and makes that triple top across there, you got them trapped. There's enough room to get out before you get to here, but also you got the break here and 2 attempts to go higher that failed, and so now you're heading down. This took you right into the, so this is like a failed second entry long, triple top, a reversal type deal, several different reasons to want to go short there, and you really could have even added on here. But the fact that this was an inside bar, even though it's very negative, there's 3 or 4 bars stacked up there. It's right at the EMA. It is off the trend line, but it's just not a great setup, so I didn't like it. And that got you in pretty much the 2 o'clock hour. There is a failed second entry long here too. So really, and this one went higher and then turned lower, I really should have that one probably marked. That's the better place to enter if you're going to go short right there. And that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. There just weren't any more setups after that, even though there was a nice rally here. It's past the 2 o'clock, so I'm not going to. We've had plenty of trades by this point, so so that's what I saw today. Really, just a 2-tiered trading range. Everything was pretty straightforward. It got a little choppy, more choppy here, more up and down across. We had more of a trend here, so this is where you should have made all your money, to be honest with you. We got a clear trend working lower to the lower side of a trading range, and that's where you really want to make your money. If you're still trading or you can only trade the afternoon, there's still some opportunities here, but you can get chopped up in this stuff. You really can if you're not reading it properly, particularly. And you can see, even though the EMA is still swinging up and down, it's pretty flat across there. So there's somewhat of support across there. And then resistance across here, and you got a failed breakout up here, and you got a failed breakout down here. So you could have actually traded this to the long side here, and this one to the well, we did mark that one to the short side. You probably would have, if you're still trading, it's not 2 o'clock, you'd probably want to consider going short there too, and then long again here. So it's pretty straightforward. Again, it's a trading range. Everything's fairly flat across there. So, of course, you don't really realize this is a range until, we turn down here and bounce again down here. So, but you can see it. The lows are pretty obvious. The highs are not that obvious until it comes back here and turns down. So, but we did trade up into that. So you would figure the bias, if we do break out, is going to be to the upside. So that would give you enough reason to want to buy down here. I'm going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.